You've been doing the squats, you've been putting in the effort, you've been told the results will come, but they haven't. And it's not because you're lazy, nor is it because of your age. You're about to discover the surprising truth about why your squats aren't building the glutes you want, and 5 powerful movements that activate up to 3 times more glute tissue than a standard squat. The reality is, squats only activate about 28% of your glute tissue, and if your pelvis isn't stable, even that 28% is an overestimation. Your body cleverly reroutes the work to your quadriceps, lower back, and hip flexors. You're not building stronger glutes. You're reinforcing a pattern that has been holding you back for years. But before we dive into these 5 game-changing moves, we need to stabilize your foundation, because without that, your glutes will continue to shut down, no matter what exercise you do. Let's begin where all effective glute training starts, with a movement that exposes a hidden weakness most men over 50 don't even realize they have. This first exercise, the side plank with leg lift, might look like a core movement, but it's far more. When you hold a side plank and lift your top leg, you're actively forcing your gluteus medius to stabilize your entire pelvis against gravity, while your gluteus maximus works to elevate the leg. That's 2 key glute muscles firing simultaneously, something a squat almost never achieves. Research indicates that the side plank with leg lift activates the gluteus medius at over 70% of maximum voluntary contraction. For comparison, a standard squat typically offers around 28%. This isn't a small difference. It's a fundamentally different stimulus. What most people miss is that in a regular side plank, your obliques and hip flexors can often carry most of the load, leaving your glutes largely disengaged. The leg lift changes everything. It eliminates these compensations and forces the gluteus medius to work in isolation. This phenomenon is often referred to as gluteal amnesia, a term coined by spine researcher Dr. Stuart McGill to describe what happens when your glutes forget how to fire on command. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a neurological pattern your body has defaulted to after years of sitting and moving primarily in one plane. To perform it correctly, lie on your side with your elbow directly under your shoulder. Stack your feet or stagger them slightly for more stability. Lift your hips off the floor until your body forms a straight line from head to heel. Now, slowly lift your top leg about 30 to 45 centimeters. Hold for 2 seconds at the peak. You should feel a deep contraction in the side of your hip, not in your lower back or outer thigh. If you feel it in the wrong place, lower your leg slightly and rotate your top foot downward by a few degrees. This small adjustment can make a huge difference. For week 1, aim for 3 sets of 6 lifts per side, holding each lift for 2 seconds. Rest for 45 seconds between sides, and remember not to rush. In week 2, increase to 8 repetitions and extend the hold to 3 seconds. By week 3, add a light resistance band just above your knees. The added tension will immediately highlight any compensation patterns you didn't even know you had. If holding the full side plank is too challenging initially, you can drop to your knee. The lift, hold, and result will remain the same. Remember, with every step you take, your gluteus medius fires to prevent your pelvis from dropping to one side. If it's not performing its role, your lower back, IT band, and knees will absorb that instability, repetition after repetition, kilometer after kilometer. Now that your gluteus medius is re-engaged and your pelvis has a stable foundation, your body is ready for the next move, the most direct gluteus maximus activator on this entire list. It's time to load the gluteus maximus directly, and nothing achieves this more effectively than the hip thrust. This isn't just a gym trend, it's the most biomechanically direct way to train your gluteus maximus through its full range of motion, from deep hip flexion all the way to full extension. A 2020 study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research found that hip thrusts produced nearly double the gluteus maximus activation of a standard squat. This isn't a minor difference, it's a completely different stimulus for muscle growth. What most people miss is treating the hip thrust like a squat, loading it heavily, moving it fast, and counting the reps. However, speed can kill activation. When you rush through the top of the movement, momentum takes over, and your gluteus maximus disengages early. This is known as elastic recoil compensation, where your tendons and hip flexors absorb the load instead of the muscle you're actually trying to train. It's not laziness, It's physics working against your results. To do it right, sit on the floor with your upper back against a bench or couch. Place your feet flat, hip-width apart, with toes slightly pointed out. Drive through your heels and press your hips upward until your thighs are parallel to the floor. Squeeze hard at the top, then lower slowly over a 4-count descent. This descending phase is where your gluteus maximus works its hardest. You should feel the contraction deep in your posterior chain, not in your lower back. If you feel it in your back, your feet are too close to your body. Move them out by about 5 centimeters, and try again. For week 1, perform 3 sets of 10 repetitions using only your body weight. Focus intensely on the squeeze at the top, even half a second matters. In week 2, add a resistance band just above your knees to simultaneously engage your gluteus medius. By week 3, introduce external load, such as a dumbbell, a weight plate, or a sandbag across your hips. Start light. Most men over 50 have spent decades sitting at desks, in cars, and on couches. This sustained hip flexion shortens the hip flexors and signals the gluteus maximus to shut down. This is called reciprocal inhibition, where your nervous system literally turns off the glute to protect the joint. The hip thrust is one of the few movements that can override this shutdown and rebuild that neural signal from scratch. Now that your gluteus maximus is firing on demand, it's time to train a movement pattern that squats completely ignore, yet one your body uses dozens of times every single day without you even knowing it. Every squat you've ever done has trained you to move in one direction, straight up and straight down. But your body doesn't exist solely in that plane. It also moves sideways. Every time you step off a curb, climb a staircase, or catch yourself from a stumble, your glutes are working laterally, controlling your hip, stabilizing your knee, and keeping you upright. The lateral step-up trains precisely this pattern, and because the movement loads the glute through a diagonal plane of force, it activates parts of the gluteus maximus and gluteus medius that forward-facing exercises simply cannot reach. What most people miss is that in a standard step-up, most of the work often gets hijacked by the quadriceps. You push down with your foot, your knee extends, and your quad does the heavy lifting. The lateral version changes the angle of force, shifting the demand to the posterior chain. This is often due to sagittal plane dominance, where your body has become so conditioned to moving forward and backward that it has lost the neuromuscular patterns for effective lateral control. It's not about age, it's a movement gap that has been developing for decades. To perform it correctly, stand beside a sturdy box or step, starting with a height of 15 to 20 centimeters. Place your right foot fully on the step, with your toes pointing forward. Now, drive through that right heel and press yourself up until your right leg is fully extended. Do not push off with your left foot. Let the right glute do all the work. Step down slowly, controlling the descent with the same glute that lifted you. You should feel a deep burn on the outer rear of your hip. If you feel it in your knee, your step might be too high, or your weight might be too far forward. For week 1, complete 3 sets of 8 repetitions per side on a low surface, using only your body weight. Focus on slow and controlled movements. In week 2, increase to 10 repetitions and raise the step height to 25 centimeters. By week 3, add load by holding a light dumbbell on the working side only. This unilateral load increases the lateral demand on your glute without adding spinal compression. If balance is a challenge at first, keep one hand lightly on a wall, using it only for balance, not to push yourself up. The lateral step-up is more than just a gym exercise. It's a direct rehearsal for the movements that keep you independent and injury-free as you age. Falls, stumbles, and uneven ground. Your glutes are your first line of defense against all of it. Now that your body is learning to control force in all 3 planes of movement, it's time for an exercise that comes closest to a squat, but actually loads the glutes in a way a squat never could. This is the closest thing to a squat on this list, but here's the crucial difference. It genuinely works. When both feet are on the ground in a traditional squat, your body distributes the load across both legs and defaults to whatever compensation pattern it has been running for years. The Bulgarian split squat eliminates that option. With one foot elevated behind you, all the load is placed on the front leg, giving your posterior chain nowhere to hide. Studies show that the Bulgarian split squat activates the gluteus maximus up to 35% more than a bilateral squat at the same relative load. For men over 50, this difference isn't just about building muscle, it's about rebuilding the strength patterns your body needs to move well for the next 30 years. What most people miss is setting up too close to the bench. When your front foot is too near your body, the movement transforms into a quad exercise. Your knee shoots forward, your shin becomes vertical, and your glute never fully loads. This is known as anterior knee dominance, where your quad takes over because your hip never gets the chance to properly hinge. It's not a strength problem, it's a setup problem. Move your front foot about 15 centimeters further forward than feels natural, and everything will change. To do it right, stand about 60 centimeters in front of a bench or couch. Place your rear foot on the surface, laces down, not the ball of your foot. Your front foot should be far enough forward that when you lower down, your shin remains close to vertical. Now, hinge slightly forward at the hips as you descend. This forward lean is intentional. It shifts the load from your quad to your glute. Lower until your front thigh is parallel to the floor. Drive through your front heel to return to the starting position, squeezing your glute hard at the top. That's 1 repetition. For week 1, perform 3 sets of 6 repetitions per side using only your body weight. Focus entirely on the forward lean and the heel drive. In week 2, increase to 8 repetitions and add a light dumbbell in each hand if body weight feels controlled. By week 3, aim for 10 repetitions, increase the load, and add a 1-second pause at the bottom. This pause eliminates the stretch reflex and forces your glute to generate force from a dead stop. If balance is a limiting factor, keep one hand on a wall. Your balance will improve within 2 weeks as your gluteus medius, which you've already been training, takes over stabilization. The Bulgarian split squat doesn't just build glute strength, it exposes and corrects the left-to-right imbalances that decades of bilateral training have been masking. Most men over 50 have one side significantly weaker than the other, and this asymmetry is a leading contributor to knee pain, hip pain, and lower back issues. Now that you're loading each side independently and your posterior chain is fully engaged, there's one final move that finishes the job at the exact angle where every other exercise on this list leaves off. Every exercise mentioned so far has been building toward this moment. The side plank established lateral stability. The hip thrust loaded the gluteus maximus through hip extension. The lateral step-up trained your body to control force sideways. The Bulgarian split squat exposed and corrected your imbalances. Now, the donkey kick with resistance finishes the job, isolating the gluteus maximus at the precise end range of hip extension where all those other exercises conclude, with 0 spinal load and 0 knee stress, just pure glute activation. This is precisely where squats never go. What most people miss is that without resistance, the donkey kick is too easy for your gluteus maximus to take seriously. Your hip flexors and hamstrings will compensate, and the glute will barely register the movement. This is called synergistic substitution, where surrounding muscles fill the gap because the load isn't high enough to demand glute recruitment. It's not that the exercise is wrong, it's that the stimulus is too weak. A resistance band or an ankle weight changes everything. Suddenly, the glute is forced to work through its entire range, and you'll feel it from the very first repetition. To do it right, start on all fours with your hands directly under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. Attach a resistance band around your right foot and anchor it under your left knee, or simply strap on an ankle weight if that's what you have available. Both work equally well. Keep your right knee bent at 90 degrees throughout the entire movement. Now, drive your right heel straight up toward the ceiling, not out to the side, not past parallel, and stop when your thigh is level with your torso. Squeeze hard at the top for 2 seconds. Lower slowly over a 3-count descent. Your lower back should not move at all. If it's arching, you've gone too high. Reduce the range by a few centimeters and reset. For week 1, perform 3 sets of 12 repetitions per side, with a light band or a 1 kilogram ankle weight, holding for 2 seconds at the top of every rep. In week 2, increase to 15 repetitions and move to a medium resistance band or a 1.5 kilogram ankle weight. By week 3, add a slow 4-count descent on every repetition. This eccentric phase doubles the time your gluteus maximus spends under tension, and time under tension is precisely what triggers the muscle adaptation men over 50 need most. The equipment doesn't matter, the resistance does. The donkey kick with resistance isn't a finishing move just because it comes last. It's a finishing move because it closes the activation gap that every other exercise leaves open. By the time you complete all 5 movements in sequence, you will have trained your gluteus medius, your gluteus maximus, your lateral control, your unilateral strength, and your end range activation. That's the complete picture. That's what squats alone will never give you.
And that's exactly what your body needs to stay strong, stable, and pain-free for decades to come. You now have 5 moves that accomplish what squats never could. They activate your glutes completely, correct your imbalances, and rebuild the neuromuscular patterns your body stopped using years ago.
The question isn't whether this works. The question is whether you will actually do it. Pick one exercise from this list and incorporate it into your routine today, not tomorrow. Your body is more capable than you think. It just needs the right signal.